Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to tell you about another experience I had as a Stanford medical student, and it taught me the power of our emotions to not only make us miserable, but to induce physical symptoms, sometimes physical pain, sometimes dizziness, sometimes fatigue, and how tuning into the way you feel can often make a profound difference in those physical symptoms. I went to Dr. Barbour's general medical clinic. He was the head of it at Stanford, and he had all these thick chart patients who no one else could diagnose, so they sent them to Stanford. They came from all over the Western United States because he had a reputation of often being able to help patients that no other doctor had been able to diagnose or help. He said that I was going to see a man who had, I think, 7 years of dizziness. I looked at the chart first just to see. It was a big, thick chart, and he'd been complaining of dizziness, and he'd had all kinds of costly evaluations, like brain scans, arterial brain scans to see, was it originating in his brain, or heart scans, did he have an abnormal heart rhythm or electrical problems or blood supply problems, but nobody had been able to help him and or find anything that was wrong with him. But he just kept complaining of dizziness. Doc, I'm dizzy. So I went in as a medical student, kind of insecure, but excited and interested, and got to talking to him and listened to his heart and his lungs. And I couldn't find anything wrong with him either. And I went and presented the case to Dr. Barbour, and then often he would come in with us and we would see the patient together. And I'll never forget what happened. He was kind of a psychiatrist in disguise, you might say. He was really an internal medicine doctor, and a darn good one, but he was often trying to find out about the patient's feelings and if there was a problem in their life. So he would be listening to the patient's heart and lungs, but meanwhile asking questions about their feelings. And he again started by listening to the heart and take a deep breath, let me hear your lung sounds. And he knew everything was going to be perfectly normal. And then he said, how long have you been having this dizziness, Mr. Jones? And he says, about 7 years, Doc. I'm just dizzy all the time. I don't know why. And then Dr. Barbour asked, well, was there anything going on? Can you remember the first time you got dizzy? What was happening there? And he says, yeah, I can remember, Doc. And he seemed to be getting choked up a little bit. And Dr. Barbour said, well, where were you? What was happening? And he says, Doc, I was at my wife's funeral. I loved her so much, and she died unexpectedly all of a sudden. And Dr. Barbour said, that must have been so painful for you, and you must have grieved and cried. And it sounds like you were so much in love with her. And he says, yes, and he was getting all choked up. And he said, yes, I loved her so much, and I lost her. But no, I didn't grieve, Dr. Barbour, or cry at all. And he said, well, why not? And he said, well, I didn't know if a man is supposed to do that. And so I've been trying to be strong. And he was just on the verge of tears. And Dr. Barbour said, well, a man does need to cry and grieve. And you seem on the verge of tears right now. Maybe you should just let it happen. And then the man just started sobbing, and tears were rolling down his cheeks, and snot was coming out of his nose, and he was just shaking and for several minutes. And we were just, giving him that space to do that. And then he kind of pulled himself together and said, Dr. Barbour, you know what? And Dr. Barbour said, what? And he says, my dizziness just went away. I think I'm cured. Thank you so much, Dr. Barbour. And so that's the story. It was just such a beautiful, moving story. And all it took was one doctor to ask him, about what was going on in his life, rather than, go into more intricate medical tests. And of course, there's a place for medicine for dizziness. Often patients will have atrial fibrillation, which is where the heart starts beating erratically. It's called, it's erraticism, because atrial fibrillation, there's no rhythm to the abnormality. The heart just starts beating erratically. And you treat it with some digitalis preparation or other medications, or you can, electroconversion. There's wonderful medical techniques for treating the dizziness associated with atrial fibrillation. But those techniques aren't going to do any good when you don't have, when your problem is a broken heart and not a medically abnormal heart. And it was just so wonderful for me to be in that clinic and see patients discover their emotions and find a new source of healing and joy in their lives. And Dr. Barbour wrote a book called Caring for Patients, but he never got to promote it, because after he retired, he became the ombudsman for the Stanford Medical Center. And then he wrote that book. I was encouraging to write it, even when I was a medical student, and he never got it published until just before he died. But Stanford Press published it, and it's a beautiful book. And he mentioned me and acknowledged me in the introduction to it, and which has always meant so much to me. But anyway, if you're interested in the interface between medicine and physical complaints and emotional complaints, that would be a cool book for you. And if you're yourself struggling with depression or anxiety or negative feelings and feeling inadequate, like you're not good enough, my heart goes out to you too. And you might want to check out our Feeling Great app and see if it appeals to you. You can take a free ride on it, and it's not costly. You can get a subscription, but if you like it but can't afford it, just contact us and we'll make it available to you for free. No problem at all. But thanks for tuning in today, and I hope you like that story. They kind of bring tears to my eyes, because I loved so much working in his clinic, and I learned a great deal from him that I've used in my career as a psychiatrist. So anyway, hope you're doing well, and see you again soon.